Ricky, how's it going? Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So we got to make a clarification because we just pulled probably like 3 year ago numbers on the. I was noticing this on the Zoom page. We said 34 million producer, but then I was looking at your CSU and you're like way above that now.
Well, I think that
What's
might have
your
just been, maybe it just ran my personal numbers. Hey, I didn't notice it until I looked at it the fifth time. So, oh well.
Okay. Yeah, I was looking at your CC numbers. I was like, these are way higher. So congrats on the growth. Maybe you're just growing so fast, we're having trouble keeping up, right?
Yeah.
Um, but so wanted to have Ricky on this webinar because for two reasons. One, Ricky has an amazing culture on his team. He's been a CSU user. How long have you been a client of ours, Ricky?
I think it's
Years
going on
now?
4 years.
Okay, so 4 years, and we see a lot of teams, and just a lot of respect, Ricky, for you, the way you run your business, and the way you care for your team, and it
Thank
shows
you.
through. So we'll talk about a lot about that, just kind of building a world-class culture and protecting that culture. But the other side of this, Ricky, that you got is the operational, the implementation of this actually in Sisu. So a lot of people don't know this, but Sisu has a full-blown recruiting platform that does all these things that people like don't even know about, right? Um, and you have this thing implemented very well. So we'll talk about that world class culture and then how to implement it in Sisu. Couple just like groundkeeping rules here. We are recording this. We will post it online. If you are registered for this webinar or even attending right now, we will get the recording and send it out to you shortly after this meeting. If you have a teammate, you can forward them that recording. It'll be on our blog. So we'll take good care of you there. And it is interactive. So please drop your questions. If you're on Facebook, drop your questions in Facebook. If you're here with us, drop them in Zoom. We'll get to those at the end because 9 times out of 10, as this presentation is going, we're going to be answering those questions, right? But drop them as they come up and we'll get right into them. Cool. Am I missing anything, Ricky, before we get started?
No, no. I think, for this, kind of what you touched on, we want to kind of share with everyone what we're doing for recruiting, what we're doing to provide value to our team members, for retention and everything else. So the way I have things set up, I have a presentation that I give around the country called Success Through Others. And so what I thought I could do is just kind of, that's usually an hour presentation on its own. And usually there's cool moving visuals and everything else. I have it downloaded as a PDF. And so what I'm going to do is just breeze through it pretty quickly, just for time's sake. Then I'm going to tap in on Cain Club a little bit so that you guys can understand what that is. And then we'll get into Sisu to see how all of this comes together and how it's implemented.
Love it. Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. All right, so this is the Success Through Others. We're going to kind of skim through this. This is a great quote I love from Napoleon Hill. It's literally true that you can succeed best and quickest by helping others succeed. And I truly believe that. My wife and I could easily go down to an assistant and maybe 2 assistants and a showing agent and net over $1 million and be extremely profitable. And we choose not to because we want to bless other people through opportunities through real estate the same way we've been blessed. That's become our new why, to provide the coaching, the systems, and the environment so that our people never have to say no to something they deserve a yes to. Because the first 3 or 4 years in our journey, wow, we said no to a lot. I mean, I still remember, and this drives me every day, I still remember my dad putting gas in my car to help me get to showings. I just don't want people to have to go through that. And so that's kind of taken over our why as a company.
I love that.
So who I am, Zach, did you know I have a chemical engineering
I
background?
didn't, but it like clicks. I'm like, oh, that's why he's so like systems driven and oriented. I did not know
Yeah,
that.
yeah. And Zach, by that, I mean, I was a bartender.
Okay.
I was in chemical engineering for about 9 years. I just think it sounds better. You say you're a bartender, just no offense to any bartenders on this call. I'm very grateful for that experience because it was part of my journey. It just sounds better to say chemical engineering. I got
Well, I
licensed.
guess you do have an engineering mindset, so I could tell by the way you dig into things, but that's funny.
Maybe so. Yeah, yeah. That was my hashtag dad joke. So got licensed in December of 2006. The first 2 years I was on a team and I had a mentor, and I put the mentor part there because it's very different being on a team and having a mentor versus having a coach. So
Yeah.
keep that in your pocket. In 2009, I went to be an individual agent at KW. And then in 2010, Ricky Cain and I started Cain Realty Group. Then very organically, we grew. In 2011, we hired our first assistant and buyer agent. And actually, this is outdated. Currently, we have 7 success team members, 12 sales agents, 2 business development representatives, and everything else is the same. The only other thing we have 3 additional administrative assistants, and we're hiring a director of first impressions because we were blessed to buy a commercial building and we need someone to be in the front and kind of serve as an overflow admin.
It's awesome.
So that's kind of a little bit about us. We're located in Austin, Texas, and we serve the greater Austin area. And so we appreciate and be grateful for any opportunity that we could have in interviewing for your trust for a client that you have moving here. I want to go over why build a team. You build a team because you have more leads than you have hours. You build a team because you want to give more to others and organizations that you're passionate about. You want to be a business owner and work on the business instead of in the business. You want to provide opportunity to others, like I talked about, have something bigger than yourself, create a legacy that can be handed down, and maybe even a legacy that your great-great-grandchildren know you for, and to accomplish a business plan that brings in more profit. The last one is hugely important, because to build a big business and not have more profit, that's insanity. You don't want to go down that road. It's a road that I went down for about 7 or 8 years, and through coaching and reading a lot of great books, I changed my mindset on that. Here's some reasons not to build a team, Zach. You've probably heard of these. To tell others what to do. That's not a good reason. To have others do the hard work that you don't want to do. To have others call you a team leader. To quickly work a lot less hours, or to avoid growing and being uncomfortable. Number 4, I want to touch on. A lot of people ask me, well, that doesn't make sense, because if you build a team, you have the leverage, so you work less. Eventually you can get there for sure. What I find is that the amount of hours, now granted in the beginning I was doing 80 to 100 hours and we had all these clients, it was just me and Ricky Cain. But once kind of you're in the middle of growing that team, it's not so much that it's likely you're going to work less hours. It's just that what you're going to be doing is going to be different and hopefully more fulfilling. Then once you get, if you're familiar with the KW models, the 6th and 7th level, things change a little bit and there's less hours there. But a majority of your time in building a team, you're going to be working a lot of hours. You're just going to be doing different things that maybe you're more passionate about. So a big thing with us is our why. I shared with you our company why, to make sure that our family never has to say no to something they deserve a yes to, and then it morphed into that for our company. But I think it's hugely important for you to figure out what is your why, and make sure you know the why of everyone on your team. There's a great book called Find Your Why. Highly recommend it. Simon Sinek also has some TED Talks. It's extremely important to understand what that is and what that is for your people, because we're all going to have a crappy day, and your why kind of serves as that battery charger that you plug into that helps you get through the rest of the day and get you back on track because you remember your purpose. And Zach, feel free to stop me if you have any questions. I'm just going to go fast just because, for the sake of time.
This is great. Thanks, Ricky.
Yeah. So one thing I want to share too that's hugely important, whether you have a team or you're thinking of building a team, is to understand who you are. And by understanding who you are, that means you know what your core values are. I'll share with you an exercise we did, and I highly recommend this for any teams out there that maybe have core values, but you're wondering if maybe those are your core values, or maybe you don't even know your core values, and you want to do a reset. So we did an exercise. We got 2 stacks of cards, and each stack had 50 values. We separated our team in half. We had one section of the team go to one room, one section of the team go to the other room, each with this stack of 50 cards. We asked them, Zach, to take those 50 cards and narrow it down to the 10 values that they think most embody the culture at CRG. They had 5 minutes to do this, or 10 minutes to do that. And then what we ask them to do from there is, okay, have some powerful conversations. Take 5 minutes to narrow down those 10 values to 5. So they each that came into the room, and they didn't see each other writing these values on the board. We had the team leader over here write the 5, team leader over here write the 5. Well, what we didn't know that was going to come from it was the fact that we must really, at our core, be who we are and be consistent at it, which was a great pat on the back to leadership, because out of those 50 values, Zach, they had 4 of the same, and the one that was different kind of meant the same thing. And so the discussion lasted 1 minute to decide which one of those values we were going to have on there that meant the same thing. So it was a great exercise to, in retrospect, also find out, hey, are we consistent? Are we showing up?
Yeah,
because
totally.
If both groups come back with totally different values, you might have some work to do on that front, because maybe you're not being consistent on the way you show up as leadership.
Yeah.
But it's such a great thing to do as a team. And from that came these 5 core values that we lead with every day.
That's huge.
I think it's important, Zach. If you don't know who you are, how do you know what you want to attract and what you're looking for?
Yeah. Well, and I mean, leadership is about consistency, and a lot of it's repetition, right? So living those values, repeating those values, and staying consistent with it. So the fact that your team was able to come up with, very almost the same results, that shows years of work on your part, right? Of building that culture. So,
well,
and protecting that culture.
And Zach, we didn't even think, gosh, I wonder what, we just rolled with it, and it was an idea that we had,
Awesome.
and it turned out great. So anyway, the other thing is, know your value proposition. Right now, I'm assuming it's like this everywhere. In Austin, the competition for great talent is fierce, and you need to stick out. And one way you can stick out is also by knowing your value proposition and be able to clearly articulate that to people that are talented that you want within your company. And so what we do, and you'll see this once we get to CZU in one of our stages, we have something called a pre-boarding meeting. And so this is an example of a pre-boarding slide for a buyer's agent, where before we go over compensation agreements with them, which, by the way, it's a great to do instead of just sending the agreement and through DocuSign and never having a conversation. Been there, done that for the first 8 years. Now we have a pre-boarding conversation, and we know the specific value that we bring to that agent based on what we provide to them through systems, coaching, opportunities. And this really gets them more bought in on the compensation agreement, working with the team, and just having that clarity of what's going to be provided to them. That's a big reason when people come off other teams, you can tell they just had no idea when they got into it what to expect, what's provided, what they pay for, what the team pays for. This is just a great way to get around that.
It's huge.
And as a leader in growing your team, these are the questions that I think are really important to ask yourself. Are you ready to place intentional focus on personal growth? If you're a leader of a team, you are leading a team within a team, you have to put this focus on yourself, because it's going to be hard for you to grow others to their potential if you're not reaching yours. Do you have the lead volume to support a team? Do you have plug and play systems that are well documented, a strategic and measurable training program, a playbook for recruiting and hiring, CZU, ready and able to delegate and to give up control? And then what level of production and accountability are you going to expect from people on your team? That's a big one, Zach. A lot of times people get out of partnership with people they hire, and one of the biggest reasons is because there were no expectations set in the relationship. And so everyone thought that they were failing. I'm not going to go over the MREA model on this call. I don't think, if anyone has questions about that, you can reach out to me privately. So a lot of people ask what our top sources for candidates. Over the last 5 years, here's what it is. Indeed job postings. That's where we just basically put a job out there on Indeed and people apply to it. Indeed resume alerts, and this is actually slowly creeping up. So what this is, we have keywords, and by the way, maybe do some keywords for your own real estate team and brokerage. When people are considering making a move, that's a great strategy to set up a phone call or a meeting to come from curiosity to see why your agent posted their resume.
Yeah.
But Indeed resume alerts are great. So we have different keywords like prospecting, lead generation, realtor, Keller Williams Realty, real estate agent. And we have these keywords so that when someone in Austin area posts their resume, we can then get that email and then send them a message about the opportunity we think would be perfect for them. And would they be open-minded to an exploratory call? That's a big one for us.
I love this lead source tracking, and a lot of people don't know, maybe we'll get into this, but you could track lead sources for recruits in Sisu, just how you can track the lead source of your business. So I'm assuming the reason you know this is because you track it, obviously, right?
100%, 100%.
Yeah,
And I actually have
awesome.
that screen that we'll share once we get into that.
Awesome.
Track recruiting campaigns. So we create a system that once someone applies to get their real estate license, I have an administrative assistant download that information on the 1st and 15th, and they get an automated, they get put into our system. They get video messages for me. They get text messages for me. Only one voicemail drop for me. Used to be a lot more, but we're being a little careful on that as of late. And they get emails from me. And guys, these emails, these are, I actually had a great call with a candidate this morning, and she said that on average per day, she got 5 or 6 emails per day, and that mine were the only ones that stood out. And I thought that was awesome, because to be honest, from that campaign, if 100 people go in, maybe 3 people respond. Right. And I think it's because the way it's written to attract people that are in alignment with those core values that we just went over. So there's very direct messaging in those emails that relate back to those core values, so that I don't waste my time with people that are going to be offended by me telling them to have a blessed day, as an example.
Mm-hmm.
Strategic partner referrals. This is going to be our plumbers, our title company, our mortgage loan officers. Team member referrals for talent from the team. I'll touch on this very quickly. We have a growth bonus for we call it growth warrior bonus for our team members. When they bring on someone to the team and they make it past their 90 days, they get $500. And then every year that they're on the team, they get $1,000 just in passive income, in addition to going in Keller Williams profit share.
Yeah. And
then the last one is team leader referrals. This one, actually, I need to update the slide. When I showed them this slide, they had a moment where they realized they had an opportunity. And so since seeing that, they've been a lot better on that. And so that's going to increase this year for sure. Team leaders are basically the office managers within a Keller Williams. All right, so differentiators have moved the needle for us. Having a CRG shadow day. So after the screening call, we invite the top candidates from those calls to shadow CRG for a morning. We used to have this in person. We're in level 5 right now, and then also in terms of COVID. And then also right now, we are about 3 months away from getting into our new building. So we're working virtual. So they are virtual now, but it allows candidates to see what we do as a company to start our day. It allows candidates to see what our coaching looks like and sounds like. They get opportunity to see our systems, our scripts, meet our people, and evaluate whether or not they could see CRG as a long-term vehicle for their success, and allows us the opportunity to figure out if it makes sense to continue a conversation. Now, when we did these in person, and if it was a sales agent, we put them on the phone. Yeah. We have them call our pond leads, and we basically give them a script and say, go to work.
Let's go. Yeah.
Now, but here's the thing, Zach, we're not looking to see if they sound amazing. They're not going to sound great. They've never done it before. What we're looking for is, after that call, we're going to go into a coaching moment, and we want to find out, are these people coachable? Because if you're not coachable, you're not a good fit for our team. Yep. You don't want to lean into discomfort and get comfortable being uncomfortable. You're not a good fit. So it's not as much looking for, now, albeit we've had people come in on shadow day and set appointments that wound up closing. But what we're really looking for is we're looking for figuring out how they show up. Are they assertive to step into the moment? And then are they coachable when the phone hangs up?
It's huge.
Yep. So success team, that's our administrative team. They have full benefits, 401k, and referral earnings potential. Our agents have group health insurance, which is a big one, and pay for half of their policy, and they can put their family on there. We have a proven track record of helping others create generational wealth. We put an intentional focus on personal growth. Our systems for prospecting, lead management, and tracking, and a specialization model that helps people be in their strength zone from a natural personality perspective. So we do have buyer agents, listing agents, business development representatives. We use a specialization model, one, because we think people can be happier doing something that's in alignment with who they are. And two, we're in a highly skill-based market, one of the top real estate markets in the world in Austin, Texas. And sending a buyer agent in there that has gone on 2 listing appointments that year against 4 other listing agents that go on 10 per week, they're going to have their lunch eaten. And so for that reason, we put people in a position to win, both professionally and from a personality standpoint. And this is just an example of the personality assessment we use through Keller Williams called the KPA. Some other things that we do, and you'll see some of this on CZU, we do a motivational interview. That's part of what we call the career visioning process. And we go really deep on what are the things that absolutely have to happen over the next 5 years as a direct result of being with CRG for you joining CRG to be one of the best things you've ever done. This is a really great time with the candidate to evaluate what roles, because Zach, when we're interviewing people, a lot of times we don't know what role would be best for them until we get to the very end.
Right.
And this is one of the steps that really help with that, because we're able to find out from what they want to accomplish from a life perspective and income perspective. And sometimes what they come in interviewing for isn't what winds up happening. Actually, Zach, 50% of the time, what they interview for isn't the role that they accept.
Interesting.
References. Zach, is so important. Don't just call the 5 references that you got. Call the references, and at the end of the call, say, Zach, hey, I really appreciate your time today. And I'm curious, do you know of someone else that has another perspective of John that I could call right now? They usually say yes, believe it or not.
You're going too deep, at least. Yeah.
Honestly, Zach, the goal is to go 3 deep on at least 2 references.
Wow. Okay.
So that's where you'll really get the meat and potatoes, because you're gonna, when you call the raving fans, they're gonna do a cheerleading skit for you no matter what. You call the references to get the real references, and then a meet and greet. So we don't do this with sales agents anymore, just because it became kind of not scalable. But we do this with our success team members, and it's a really simple thing. And the way Zach, if we were having a conversation about opportunities and bringing you on to the team, the conversation would kind of go something like this. So Zach, we're really excited to continue this process with you. And we're a smaller company. There's only 17 of us, and we operate as a family. And so when we're bringing on someone to our family, we know we're kind of bringing on their family too. And we want to make sure that Jessica is as bought in on this opportunity with Cain Realty Group as much as you are. And so we think it would be great for us to meet for about an hour, have an appetizer at our local restaurant, get to know each other, and most importantly, find out what questions she has for us or concerns that she has, again, so that she can be as excited about this partnership as you are. Would Tuesday at 5 p.m. work for you?
That's cool.
And then so it would be me and the leadership team. We'd go and meet with them. And we have these secret little under the table kicks where if we think the significant other is a little cray-cray, we want each other to kind of be on the same page. Because guys, even if you have under 50 people, if you're bringing on a top level person within your organization and their significant other is crazy, you are bringing crazy into your organization. So that's another reason why we do that. A big thing for us too, Zach, is we have a very thorough expectations conversation on day 1 to make sure that We understand how they want to be communicated with. And obviously we go through the 20% of their role, but we also want to go through expectations of communication, expectations on honesty, things of that nature. And so we go really deep on that. And you'll see that within our CZU platform. We talked about having a very solid onboarding and training program. Again, all of this is in CZU as well. This is just the paper document. Our leadership team, depending on the department, has something called a 411 with each of the team members once a week to go over their personal and professional goals. Here's something too, Zach, for you to know. So when we do that 5-year motivational interview, part of the reason we're doing that too, Zach, is because we want to know if we're going to get into partnership with this person, what are your 5-year goals, so that we can then take them and chunk them down to yearly goals, monthly goals, and weekly goals. So that 5-year exercise, when someone's going through their onboarding with us, we're actually bringing that back up to help fill out this 411 so that we can stay on track. And what's really cool is we have a track record of helping people reach those 5-year goals by around year 3.5.
Yeah, I love this.
Some scale suggestions, video training library. Whenever someone doesn't know how to do something, oh, Zach, man, that's a great question. Let me turn on my screencast-o-matic and let's create a video really quick. And then we'll have that for the library. Or Zach, man, that's awesome. I'm going to show you how to do this. Will you master it and commit to creating a video for the training library by tomorrow at 5?
That's cool.
And by the way, set expectations by tomorrow at 5. I learned that, Zach. If you just say, can you get this done quickly? My quickly is usually different than other people's quickly. So always put a time. Group coaching programs, training software like Trainual and Lessonly are also pretty cool. So one thing we have too is a differentiator. We have something called Cain Club, and we have monthly awards and annual awards. Our monthly awards we have for most conversations per department, most referrals into the team, most appointments set, best held to sign percentage, all of these different categories we have awards for. And when they get the certificate, they also get something called Cain Keys. And our most important award every month is called the Culture Keeper. That's whoever, we have this little box in the office. Now we do it online, but basically they're little notes of, hey, what core value did this person demonstrate from the team? And it has our 5 core values listed. And then who the person is, and then what they did to demonstrate that core value. Whoever has the most of those winds up getting the Culture Keeper Award for that month. And they get these things called Cain Keys for all these awards. And these Cain Keys allow them to then go onto Cain Club and purchase items that you'll see here. And we have all kinds of stuff. We have books, we have gift cards. If they want their car detailed while in the parking lot prospecting for new business, if they want a masseuse to come to their house, if they want to take a vacation, or if they want CRG, some CRG swag, we have all of this on here so that they're earning these things. For example, when they start on the team, they get a t-shirt. If you want a nice polo, you got to earn it. You got to get them keys.
Cool.
So this is a pretty cool thing. And just on a side note, at cainclub.com, we have 3 segments on here. We have one for our out-of-town realtor referral partners, where they can earn things that are more specific to that segment. Then we also have this for our database. And then of course we have it for our team. So depending on what segment you're in, you see different things that are available, obviously. We talked about the growth program, reward program. Also too, I'll give my email again at the end. My email is ricky@cainrealtygroup.com. If you guys want to see what awards we have and replicate or copy, please do. Keep your people growing. Part of our coaching too, we have a growth calendar where they basically have this document, and every month they put the 3 or 4 things that they're going to do to grow personally and professionally. It could be a relationship they're going to make, a book they're going to read, a seminar they're going to go to. All of that is listed on there so that we can hold them accountable to becoming a better and bigger version of themselves that they are from when we first met them. We also have a monthly book club where we go over a different book that will help us grow as a person. Most of the time, 99% of the time, these books aren't on real estate whatsoever. They're about thinking bigger, doing more, having better communication with people that you love, things like that. And what's really cool too is what we found is people with significant others, they're actually reading it with them as well. So that's fun. Some other things too that I recommend, you guys have probably heard this before, you're the average of the 5 people that you hang around. I recommend being on the bottom part of that average.
Always better.
Yeah, if you can. And then remember this too, your people are also the average of the 5. This one's important to me because we've noticed within our group that we have a couple of people that we know that when they're with us and they're around us and in our environment, their growth is doing this. But then we know when they go home, there's gaming, TV watching, people that aren't doing anything with their life, that are having conversations with them, and they go down. So one of the greatest things you can do is help your people understand this. You'll create transformation for them, and it will equate to a better hire for you. We love shadowing other teams. We love doing that. We love having people come and shadow us. We'll be doing that a lot again once we get into our building. And then always make sure you're the dumbest person in the room. For the first 2 years, we've been in for 7 years now in Gary Keller's top agent group. For the first 2 years, I know for sure I was the dumbest person in the room. I was the dumbest person and I had the least production. I don't even know how I got in there. It's crazy. And then always be recruiting. Make sure you have a bench of people that can step into a role. You don't ever want to be held hostage by a lack of a bench. We've all been there before where we can't have the conversation that needs to happen about someone's productivity because you don't have anyone else that can do the job.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you always want to be recruiting too, because if you're not always recruiting, then you won't have other opportunities for your people to grow into.
Right.
And then top grading. It may sound mean, but let's be honest, Zach, a lot of times when we reintroduce someone to the job market, it's probably better for them.
Right. You know, it's interesting because I see kind of a theme of like, there's teams who struggle to recruit at all. Then there's teams in this middle who can recruit and retain pretty well, but kind of have this culture of, you know, it's easy to be on the team. And so they don't lose anyone on the other side of like the team outgrowing them, right? Or the team actually weeding out people who might have decent production, but are actually counter to your culture, right? And that's a tough spot to be in too. So
I love that you shared that. Yeah, that's especially on the success team side of things. I can think of a couple of people that were great and we're still friends with them. And they're great to get us here, but they just weren't the right people to get us here.
mm-hmm.
There's still a friendship there, but it's a different, I think of this one gal, she actually just moved and she's a sweetheart and she was our second hire ever. And when we went from just me and Cody K and her and one agent to having 7 agents, 2 other administrative people and all this other stuff, she was stressed out. There's a lot of stuff going on. And it wasn't right for her to stay in that role. And like you said, sometimes those people that you love and respect, they got you to where you want to go, and where they want to go for the moment just aren't the right people to keep going.
Yep.
Top team building mistakes, core value mismatch. We talked about that. Big thing is track record too, Zach. Forever, I would, in building a team, I would meet someone great and think, man, their personality assessment came back awesome. They're a driver. Let's do this. But there's nothing on the resume that says they actually succeeded at anything. But then, Zach, I tell myself, well, Zach, they haven't been in our environment. They haven't had our systems. Just wait till we get this guy and we put him in our group. No, you gotta have you gotta have track record of success. If it's someone right out of college, what did you succeed in while going to college? Did you work while you were going to school? Did you pay for your own school? Look for track record, because that will tell you a lot.
Yep.
hire for the position, not for the person. Make sure they are a match. Make sure they have done the 20% in some role, and make sure they're a match from a natural personality perspective. Self-motivated. Oh man, Zach, it's not our job as a team to motivate someone. It's our job as a team to take someone's fierce motivation and direct that in a way that will help them get where they want to go faster. I think it's this misconception that it's our job to motivate people and find their motivation. It's not. Find people that are already motivated and help them direct that so they can get where they want to go.
Yep.
Accountability, inspect what you expect. Always make sure that you have clearly defined standards so that you're on the same page. And profit first. There's actually a book called Profit First. I highly recommend it if you haven't read it. It started the whole journey alongside with me getting a new coach to go from barely profitable to having our first year where we netted over $1 million.
Love it.
Recommended reading, MREA book, highly recommend it. Fierce Leadership, Profit First, which I had already shared, 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, and Atomic Habits. These are all really great team reads too, by the way, especially 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. For own success.
We had a question about books. So
oh yeah, sure.
There we go. We hit it. They were just asking which books you would recommend. So
oh yeah, these are the. Oh, I have a whole. That's another thing. Ricky at CainRealtyGroup.com. Email me. We have a whole CRG recommended reading. Every time we have a book read that's amazing, it makes the list. Anytime Gary Keller recommends a book that's great, we add it to the list. I'm happy to share that list as well. Just when you guys send an email, just maybe send one with what it is that you want, just for efficiency. And then a great quote: for our own success to be real, it must contribute to the success of others. I truly believe that. I think true success is in helping others find their way, because I kind of feel like it's our duty, obligation, and our privilege to do it for others, since others, if you really think about it, Zach, people helped us get where we are. And so now it's time to pay it forward.
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to stop and do any questions now before we go into Sisu?
I think we're doing pretty good on the questions. So let's get into the, like, we've seen the system, the culture and the whole like strategy behind it. Let's get into how you're actually executing and implementing this through Sisu.
Yeah, sounds good. So let's start here. So we talked about some of the different things that we do with the team. This is actually the recruiting platform in Sisu, and this is every stage that I just mentioned. A couple of them I didn't. So the KPA stage, one thing too that we changed that, excuse me, the first step for us is a screening call. We're not going to include this in the stages because we only invite to the next stage, which is the shadow. We only invite maybe 1 out of every 10 calls to that shadow. So it doesn't make sense from a scalability standpoint to enter people that we had a conversation with. Same thing on the shadow. We average 4 to 7 shadows. We do them on the first Thursday and third Thursday of the month. We average 4 to 7. Usually 1 or 2 we'll invite to take a KPA. So when we enter them is once they, and there are some exceptions. Like I had a gal this morning, amazing. I just went ahead and ordered the KPA because our next shadow is not till next Thursday. So there are some exceptions, but we really start the tracking from the KPA stage. Okay. Then after the KPA, if that goes well.
So at the KPA stage is when you're actually getting them into Sisu, or are you actually getting them in here a little earlier?
Oh, no, once the appointment is set for the KPA. So see how it says appointment set? Yeah. These are people that all have KPA validation scheduled in the next 5 days.
Awesome. Okay.
Yep.
And by the way, for anyone listening to this is totally customizable. So like Ricky's built this system to do exactly what he's built from his recruiting and culture side. So anyways, just wanted to call that out. Keep going, Ricky.
Yeah, these are all custom, obviously, to our campaign and our process.
Yeah.
So for example, Mark, we validated his KPA already. That's why it's on appointment met. And then these are KPA appointments that were set. The
Okay.
next one is life story motivation. You guys heard about the motivational interview, which is the 5-year interview. In addition to that, it's a 2-hour interview. 1 hour we do motivation, 1 hour we do life story. Life story, I want to know what's happened in someone's life that has caused them to be who they are today, to show up the way they do today, and most importantly, to think the way they do today. And so there's a whole part of that process where we go really deep into that called a life story. And all of this is career visioning from Keller Williams for the most part. We added a couple of things in here. Our pre-boarding meeting and our shadow are not part of the process. They're just part of our process.
Okay.
Then we have references stage. You can see currently we don't have anyone in this stage or in Black Hat or meet and greet. Reference stage, that's an obvious. We talked about that. Black Hat, depending on the department. So we have an operations coach that for all of our success team members, she will look at our entire career visioning file, the videos, the references, everything, and she will come up with questions to eliminate the candidate and basically be the black hat and say, did you guys consider that she's a 4 on logical problem solving? How do you see that? You know, and she's there to answer those kind of questions. No offense to anyone that's a 4. That was just an example. I love everyone. Then next is meet and greet stage. This is just for the success team members. We talked about what that entails. We're going and grabbing an appetizer, meeting the significant other. Then pre-boarding offer stage. This is where we go over that presentation that I shared with you. It's different for every position. And then when we have someone in the first 90 days, then they are here. And then when they're in the post 90 days to 1 year, they're in here. Once they're past a year, they fall off of this section. This is just the post 90 days to 1 year. Any questions about any of this?
I love how you've customized this. I love how you can see very visually, like, you know, what parts of so you have a lot of people in this KPA stage right now, right? And that's probably a result of maybe like a recent recruiting push that you've really.
Well, yeah, I was in the Caribbean for the first week. I played catch up the second week and I got on it the third week.
I love it. But you have that visibility right away to like know, like, hey, what's my recruiting pipeline looking like?
Yeah.
So that's huge. And we'll probably get into this later, but if you scroll to the right on your board, you can see, let's see if I can draw on here. You know, these are actually task lists that are being completed. And I think that's probably something we'll get into later, but it's not just tracking people in these pipeline stages. As they're moving across these pipeline stages, you can trigger task lists for actually like onboarding and all of that. So.
Yep. And we actually are adding some of those things in the pre-onboarding as we move through the process, some automations that will go to our administrative assistants. We don't have anything yet until they're actually hired, and then we have a ton of automation. Some next steps for us are going to be creating some using the new automations. For example, when someone has their first day, instead of us manually sending an email, welcoming to the team, giving them a breakdown of this, that, and the other, that will just fire off automatically. So those kinds of things we're working to build out as well.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. How do I move the Zoom? Okay, there we go. All right. So you mentioned task lists. And so here are our task lists. Zach, last time I did this with you guys, I got bombed with emails wanting to see the task list. So do know that everyone on the call, I've already created PDFs of these. Nice. And they're ready to be fired off. So again, I'm happy to share anything. And
if you're fine with it, Ricky, we probably because of that last webinar, we actually built a feature where people could chat in and request to have task lists copied over. So that could be an option too. You know, maybe that's something you want to approve first, but save some time there as well. So
got it. Well, then but the only thing with that, Zach, then I can't form a relationship with someone that I can send a referral to.
I think that's totally valid. They should have to talk to you if they want the goods. I love it.
Yeah, that's
But
what
this
I
is
think.
good. It looks like you've built some of this out, or even
Yeah.
more since last time.
So we have onboarding and offboarding for anyone that's an agent. And by agent, that would be showing agent, buyer agent, listing agent, business development representative, because they're all going to be the same. Same with offboarding. Then we have administrative onboarding and offboarding, and that's the success team. And then we also have virtual professionals. And so we have an onboarding program and offboarding program for them as well. All of these are different based on position. I'll kind of show you some of the things that go into this. And just so y'all know, some of the initial things come to me. Right now, we don't have a director of operations. And so these used to actually never come to me. But you can see as you scroll down, more and more start going to other people. It's just in the beginning since we don't have the director of operations. So you can see we have tasks such as adding people to our CRM, to Sisu, to G Suite. Those are the only 3 pieces of software that we use. Making sure we have the employment contractor agreement, shirts have been given, KPA saved. We're affiliated with Keller Williams, so we have to send an email to Keller Williams to have them meet with the team leader. This is the expectations conversation that I mentioned that gets scheduled. Adding them to the organizational chart. All these things that you would do for someone, we just have this come up incrementally so that we don't miss the beat. Another thing that's really cool is that the social posts for new hires and on 1-year anniversaries, 2-year anniversaries, all of that is on here as well. And those just automatically go to our administrative assistant. And same thing with annual reviews, 90-day reviews, all of that goes to the leader for that department.
So I want everyone to just pay extra attention to that. These tasks are happening, 360, or basically they're years after that initial recruited date. So this stuff is just being handled on autopilot, and you're able to, this is another big thing, Ricky, is all these tasks that are on you right now that eventually you're probably looking to delegate and bring on team members and scale up. At least you have it in here, and getting this task on somebody else's plate would be as easy as, one, getting them to know how to do it. That's probably the hard part, but then you just switch it to them. And so now I'm sure you've been doing this periodically, just chipping away at that task list. Because what I've found a lot of times is team leaders, when they start this, they own this entire freaking task list, right? Like all of it. And then they're slowly able to start delegating it. It just helps them scale so much better, right?
Yep.
So I love 100%.
This. And then give you an example of offboarding. Basically removing from all the sites that they were on. Removing from the website, deactivating their building code, removing from the org chart, all of these things. Before Sisu, something like this as an example, we would share our org chart in the team meeting, and an agent we parted ways with 3 months ago, their shiny little face was still on the chart. But yeah, now we don't have that, so that's nice. And then Zach, you mentioned sources for recruiting. You can see everything. The one thing we don't do is we don't put in here yet, like how much GCI they brought to the team and net income, but that is something that you can track. And we also don't track our spend on Indeed in here, but I know that you can do it.
I know a lot of people look at this, if you scroll all the way down, they love seeing at the very bottom here, just like, over a time range, this pie chart, where's our business coming from, right? And that's pretty cool to see.
Yep. So. Yep. And for me, this was gross commission income before they came to our team.
Right. So that's always going to be an estimate, because you just don't know how they're going to perform, but you can estimate.
Yep.
So.
Yep. 100%. What's really nice too is just all the, well, it's not in here. I guess that's more on the
On the real
transactional
estate
side.
transaction
But
side, yeah.
yeah, but keeping all of that tracked has been really awesome. Oh, I'm not sure why it says 1970, but yeah, you have all the same boards as you would have on the other side of things.
Yeah.
For transactions, you have the same thing for recruits. We don't have a full-time recruiter. When we do, this is going to be an amazing tool to use, because we'll be able to see how many conversations they had versus how many appointments versus how many held.
Yeah.
We're not using it to that extent yet, and we're excited to open that up once we have someone in that role full time and not someone that has, 5 jobs.
Yeah. Love it. Yeah, probably just date range there.
Oh yeah.
Like swap. And again, just like the CSU dashboard, you can run quick reports here. How many appointments this month, last month? What's our conversion rate from, talking to someone to setting an appointment to recruiting? What's our net recruits, right? How many recruits did we lose? Like just knowing and having that clarity around it, right, over any given time period is huge. So, and it's just happening again. It's happening by nature of you managing your onboarding in here. You're getting that reporting at your fingertips, right?
Yep.
So,
No, 100%. Well, looks like we have about 6 minutes left. Do we want to field some questions, or is there
yeah,
something else in here you want me to go over?
yeah. Let's so we got the books, these slides. So I've gotten a bunch of questions about the slides that we went over originally. Is that something, if they just reach out to you, they would be able to get a copy of those slides?
Yep.
Okay, cool. I'll drop your chat or your email here in the chat. What's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Ricky, RICKY at cainrealtygroup.com.
Okay.
And
want
also too, whoever reaches out, we'll put on our agent newsletter. And on there we have every month we kind of talk about what's working, what's not, our challenges, our wins.
Yeah,
We like to share things like that, since so many people have shared with us.
I love that. We had a question about you're providing a ton of value through your admin team, your coaching, your training, and so there was a question about your split model and that kind of profit first, like what does that look like, and maybe you could dive into that a little.
Yeah, 100%. How do I unshare? Okay, there we go.
Yeah, there you go.
So the question is with all that value that we give to agents, what are some of the compensation arrangements? Is that
Yeah,
what it
that's
was?
the question.
Okay.
Correct.
Well, it depends on the role. If we're speaking of sales roles, the business development representatives, they have a sliding income scale based on, in terms of the base, in terms of how many held appointments they have. So the smallest one that they start at is 26 a year. Then it can go to 38, and then to 26, 32, and then 38. And then they get 10% of the GCI once it closes. And then they also get 15% if it's an expired, withdrawn, or for sale by owner.
Wow.
Our buyer's agents, they are on a 50-50 split if it's self-generated, and then a 40-60 split if it's team generated. We do a ton of lead generation for our agents.
That's cool.
And so that's what that looks like. Then also we have something called a production bonus. Once they bring in 350,000 in GCI to the company, which is only about 20 deals in our market, then for the rest of that cap year, they get an additional 10%. So for a high performer in an organization, they can be at a 60-40 split. Then for in addition, on their transactions too, we have something called a CRG loyalty bonus. And what that looks like is after 2 years. So team members in our market through Keller Williams, they get a $3,000 royalty per year and a $4,500 cap. Well, after 2 full years, that third year, we just wipe their cap away and we pay that 4,500. After 4 years, we wipe away the royalty, and that 7,500 just gets paid for them. So not only do we have the loyalty bonus, but we also have the sphere of influence bonus and the production bonus. And we probably have 4 people that will hit all of those within our group. Listing agent, right now we just have 1. She's on, what's important for y'all to know too is average price and average commission. Average price is $450, $475. Average commission is 2.9. Then for listing agent, she's on a 42,000 salary, 20% for team generated and 30% for self-generated. And self-generated includes for sale by owner, FSBO, and withdrawn.
Cool.
And
Last question.
Showing agents just get paid 10% from the agent.
Okay. We'll have this recorded, so if you want to go back through that and like,
I was trying to talk fast just because of the time.
Yeah, it's a lot, but I love it. It's good stuff. Last question here, and this is a little more on like general Sisu. You've been using Sisu for 3-4 years. Your agents on it. How do you get agent compliance with Sisu? What's been the secret for you for that? Actually getting them involved with the tracking.
We've never had a challenge with it. It's an expectation that you set up when you bring them on to the company that this is what we do. We also have scoreboards that when in person, they're all throughout the office. Mm-hmm. So a 0 is not a hero, right? And so they just do it because they don't want to be a 0. They want to be a hero. And then in the virtual world that we're in now, every day we have a chat called the Daily Greatness Chat. In the morning, it starts off giving numbers, goal versus actual, and gives everybody's screenshot of everybody's productivity for the month. Then at the end of the day, everybody talks about their wins, their challenges, and what they're grateful for once the day is over. And then there's a recap of the production. So I think it's 2-part. One, having an expectations conversation about the expectation of if you're going to work here, this is what you do. Mm-hmm. And the second thing is keeping Sisu and the productivity and the goals front and center at all times, whether you're virtual or in person.
Love it. Well, thanks, Ricky. I think that's it for questions, and we're up on time. But everyone, I put Ricky's email there in the chat. It's ricky@cainrealtygroup.com. Connect with him. Ricky's been the man. He's added a ton of value for us. Sisu, I can point to a handful of reports in Sisu, and I said, that's Ricky Cain right there. So appreciate you bringing value everywhere you go, Ricky.
No, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me. I just realized I got really shiny and bright all of a sudden. I don't know. I don't know if it's always been like that or now I'm not.
No, just barely. The sun must have come up or something.
I'm like glowing. God's shining his light on me.
All right, Ricky, you're the man. Thank you for joining. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for having me. Y'all have a blessed day.
Thanks, man. We'll see you.